Everyone's buying AI tools like it's Black Friday, but who's actually getting their money's worth? Tony Gentilcore is here from Glean. If you don't know Glean, it's your company's private AI-powered Google for everything from Slack to Salesforce, all internal. Glean just hit $100 million dollars in ARR in under 3 years, and they're just getting started. So that's one part of the conversation. Then Lexi Reese is also joining us from Lanai, a platform that tracks how teams are really using AI, flags risky behaviors, helps clean it all up before it becomes a problem. In some orgs, and I feel like I should lower my voice for this, her team found that half of all AI prompts contained sensitive data, and no one knew. So Greg is joining them to talk about what's actually working, where the ROI lives, and how not to blow your budget on a bunch of clever sounding nothing. Greg.
Thank you, Maxwell. Welcome, Lexi and Tony. We're not going to talk about Glean or Lanai, and I think you know that what we're going to talk about is what happens when AI technologies hit the enterprise, and how can we increase the success of those technologies, their adoption, and really the outcome we want from those technologies. I wanted you to join us because you guys are seeing that sort of at the front line, meaning your firms are deploying these technologies into organizations. Glean, we see more of. Lexi, you're early, you're growing. I'm sure you'll find hopefully the same hockey stick that Glean has. So we share some mutual customers with Glean, and so we're seeing, their challenges to deploy Glean and their outcomes and the benefits of deploying Glean. So let's start there. I'd like to get both your opinions on one each. What to do and what not to do once you've chosen an AI technology. It doesn't matter which one, but let's just start with, let's get the basics right, and let's avoid the common pitfalls. So Tony, you've got a lot of deployments out there, I think hundreds of customers, something like that. So what are you seeing that is working, and where are leadership screwing up?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thanks, by the way, for bringing us on. I'm really excited to be here and talk to your audience. It's a great forum. So the thing I would say is, you started the premise of the question with like, once you've decided on a technology, and I think that's the hardest thing, is it's moving so fast right now. I think last year, the year before, it was the model is king, and everything. Can we choose the right model? I think now we're seeing the model it has become commoditized. The leaderboards change every Tuesday afternoon. There's a new best model for this purpose. And I think one of the things to be wary of is really lock-in. Are you overly locked into one particular thing? And what I think is king now is not the model, but I think context is king. And so I think it's really, how do you get the right data safely in a governed way into context for those agents to operate on, so that they can do the right thing. And so what I would say, like, what is the top thing you should be looking at is how do you organize and govern your data in such a way that you can expose it to the AI system that is currently ahead, is currently winning, or currently has the right trade-offs for your organization at that point in time, and have the flexibility in the future to do that.
Okay, we'll go back to that around what happens if your data is not in good shape. Answer the second part of my question, but maybe level up a bit, Tony. Like, what do you see leaders not doing, or doing rather they shouldn't be doing? Is it I call it performative AI, for example. They run around and wave their iPhone at all hands meetings saying everybody should be using AI, but they don't use it. Or they talk about, AI is going to pay for itself with efficiency, which is code for layoffs, right? Like, what are you seeing in your customers that you wish your clients weren't doing when it comes to AI deployments? One thing.
Yeah, I think for me, it boils down to getting security right and doing security strategically. So what I mean by that is we see kind of both ends of the spectrum. We see people who don't take it seriously, and disastrous things can happen there. And then we see people where their organization is paralyzed by the what ifs. We can't expose this. You can just get into this thing where
they're too locked down. They're too locked down.
Places you're too locked down, and you say, hey. you have to be willing to take some leap and change some mindset in order to get the value out of this. And what tends to happen anyways, if you don't do that, you can't stop this. There's shadow IT. All of a sudden, what happens is everybody takes some public tool that's training on the data, and they're just going to copy paste out those PDFs or whatever else and upload it to that, and you've lost control. So governance is really key, and the key to that is making sure you're strategic about security.
So shadow AI, that's a great segue to Lexi, because I know that's on top of your mind, and as you think about the value your platform brings to organizations. And by the way, I'll just for the audience's sake, when we run AI readiness surveys for our new clients before we build their transformation plan, what we almost always discover, because they're anonymous employee surveys, is the unsanctioned use of ChatGPT is higher than the sanctioned use of typically Microsoft Copilot, which is, in large enterprise, which are most of our customers, that's sort of the tool of choice. So to your point, Tony, that's what's going on. So Lexi, what are you seeing executives doing right or leaders doing right, and what do you wish they weren't doing when they deploy AI?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I'm so happy to be here with Tony, with you, Greg, and right after Bryce, who's like one of my favorite thinkers on this topic. I think we're kind of losing our minds right now, and very sensible people are doing what they know so much better than to do, which is they're getting ahead of themselves and falling in love with tools, forgetting what their real mandate is, which is whatever businesses you're running, you have a good or service that you're trying to get to a market. And Gen AI in particular is a new capability that acts a bit more like a new teammate than it does a tool. So that makes it a little different. But the age-old question that I've certainly been asking as an operator for the last 25 years is, for any given part of my supply chain, from R&D to sales to marketing to service, what is the best fit for purpose, technology or human talent strategy to achieve that jobs to be done, the many jobs to be done to get the service out the door at the lowest cost and the highest quality? And so I see too many people running blind experiments, following what I say we're in the BAM era, blind AI mandates, where companies will dictate from on high, we're going to be an AI first company. But the next question is, where are you today vis-a-vis your adoption of AI? And very few people know the answer to that. What I'd like to see people is just go back to the basics, start with a business outcome. We want to improve gross margin by 5%, and we want to increase customer retention by 2 times, or whatever it is. And then ask, what customer or employee problems can Gen AI help solve better, faster, cheaper to drive that outcome? Fund the exploration and track 2 signals. Track leading indicators, which is, are your employees using AI, and are they using it safely? But the more important signal is the lagging indicator. What business outcome was actually made better? Did you service a lot more calls at a lower cost? Did you solve problems faster for customers that resulted in you shipping product quicker? And then finally, the real human part of this, which I wholeheartedly agree with Bryce on, is now that you may have some rote tasks being done by your Gen AI teammates, how are you going to redeploy your human teammates to the higher order creativity, empathy work that will really be where your revenue goes? So sorry for saying a mouthful there, Greg.
No, it's good. I love it. By the way, I think BAM is good for Glean and, and every other AI vendor. That's how they get to $100 million in these steep climbs, right? Which is, hey, buy the AI and then figure out how to use it. But let's stay with this, Lexi. Who figures all that out, though? Is that, Bryce says a head of AI is a waste of time. Maybe HR should have a more prominent role here. But some of the work you just described doesn't feel like it's an HR function to me or responsibility. Like, who do you think should do all that essentially groundwork, foundational work first before, and maybe they've already bought the AI, but they still have to do that work. You're suggesting maybe do that work first and then go buy your AI. Who do you think organization? Let's get specific. What's their job title today in the organization? Who should do what you just suggested?
CEO. This should be the CEO's job, and everybody on their team plays a part, but the CEO cannot shove this to a third party to have said third party, even if it's a direct line to them, describe to the CEO how AI is going to transform their business. That won't work. We see that in many companies we work with, and that ends up being this like hamster wheel of ineffectiveness and frustration. What is so much better is, and if anybody's on a leadership team today, here's what I would say. Your next offsite should happen after you have used Gen AI yourselves as executive teams for 10 hours minimum a week, 4 weeks straight. Use every tool that you can, coding tool, summarization tool, what have you. And then the CEO should really lean into hosting that offsite and saying, all right, guys, what did you think and feel after you've really utilized these tools? And what could we do differently to transform our business? Imagine it like really from the ground up. Like if we were making Mars bars today, or this car, or this technology today,
that is hard. What you're proposing is hard work, right? Frankly,
sure.
It's hard and it's very foundational. And so, Tony, let's assume I'm sure you get sales where that work has not been done, right? Someone buys Glean, hey, let's go. The mandate, the memo, whatever it is, they were golfing and someone raved about Glean. And so, they called and you made a sale. What do you do in that moment where you've sold it, but you do need to go figure out what are the use cases and what are the business values that are going to be generated, as Lexi suggests? And what do you guys do in that moment? Or again, what's your advice to maybe to a leader where someone bought Glean, or a similar platform? Again, I'm not picking on Glean, but maybe the CTO bought it, and now I'm the CMO, or I'm a GM of a business unit, or I'm a functional leader with a good sized team, and I'm expected to use it. What would you tell that leader to do for the next 90 days?
Yeah, so I love some of the things Lexi said. There's a lot I agree with there. Particularly starting with the goals, starting with the jobs to be done. I think there's two ways that people approach AI, like with two stories, two counter things. One is, hey, we're going to replace everybody. Like, I don't think those companies are going to win. I think the companies that are going to win and the companies you want to go to realize the economic pie is growing larger than ever before. You can do so much more with AI. And I think, the place where I start to differ is I think that it's that CEOs, it's their role to start setting higher and higher bars and goals and start saying, hey, we're expecting more to be done. We're expecting more. The bar, the expectations is going up. And then when it comes to how do we adopt this, I think that getting AI fluency, AI literacy throughout the organization has to be done first. And it's not going to be the CEO that comes in and says, oh, like I used Gen AI for 10 hours per week, and then I know how to transform this portion of the business. That's got to come from within everybody and their roles and what they need to do. And I think when people see that this isn't a zero-sum game, that we're going to replace, that they see there's more that we can do and there's more that's expected, and they have access to these, and you're raising the literacy, that's what's going to be. And what have we seen is really important there. It's like any other attribute that you want to encourage within a business where you reward the behaviors that you see that you like. And so what we've seen, what we're doing at Glean every chance we get, it's put those people on a pedestal, put them on a stage, show off the use cases, the wins, and people can learn from that. People want to see what is working and what isn't working. Not everything works today.
And how do you manage
something really well?
Yeah. Sure. How do you manage the anxiety at the same time? I agree in terms of promoting and rewarding the behavior you want. How do you manage the anxiety about the impact on work? Or is your point of view, and is it so clear? And Alexi, obviously, I want to hear from you on this. What are you seeing organizations do well in terms of managing that anxiety and speaking to it?
For me, it's what I just said. It's that you're giving that message that we can do more with this, and that this is an expansion opportunity, not a we're going to be at one of those a company like maybe on Anthropic's mini kitchen store where they said, we'll just let an agent run this, and right. Makes all the bad decisions, right? I think fundamentally what's people, the potential of business, and the potential is like the limiting factor is going to be human ideas here. Like, this is a limit to what we can get done now, and you want to be working for the leaders that are espousing that idea that we can build much more, we can do much more.
Lexi, what are you seeing in your clients in terms of who's doing this? How are they doing this well in terms of it kicking off and then sustaining this change, right? In terms of change of behavior, in terms of adoption.
Yeah, I think you can't manage what you can't see. So the best leading companies we see in this, and Bryce is among them, is they turn on lights to be able to see how employees are using AI. Lanai was built as a first AI native prompt observability platform that gives people effectively a map. We're like Waze for enterprise AI. We show you who's using AI anywhere they're using it. And the first aha is how many sanctioned versus unsanctioned apps. And the second aha is how much sensitive data is moving through prompts, through people who are trying to be personally productive, but inadvertently opening the company up to risk. So the best companies have a mandate coming from the CEO. They've given a leadership position, usually to the CIO, and Fortune 1000 companies could be different if you're smaller, to help drive adoption and mitigate risks in equal measure. And they have regular reporting that helps people do what they would do with any workflow, which is, okay, we've added AI capabilities. Again, I encourage people to think of it like new teammates to our existing human team, and where are we seeing the results? And they don't stop at usage. They tie usage, which, if you don't know who's using what tool, how frequently, why, and how risky that is, you have no shot at measuring ROI. But they take all of those inputs, which a company like Lanai provides, and then they marry it with where the either costs are going down or revenue is going up. And then that becomes a transformation you're managing versus hoping goes well.
Sure, but Lexi, you have to admit, and we have to talk about this, which is the ROI, the business case. You have to admit that what you're talking about, the cost going down and the revenue going up, in most cases will take a while, sometimes years.
Yeah.
And hard to isolate the impact of AI sometimes on those. Maybe not cost, easier maybe to connect that to AI on revenue. A lot of reasons why revenue can grow, right? New products, new services. So my point is, before that moment, which could be 12 or 24 or 36 months away, maybe longer in some organizations, how do we get that? How do we measure the ROI of AI? And so Tony, you take it, and then Lexi will come back to you to answer that question. Yeah. What do you say to CFOs who say, yeah, where's the money here?
Yeah. I mean, so this is different. This is different for every function, right? One of the easiest places you can measure ROI really concretely is in support functions, because already you have a stopwatch and you're managing the call resolution times down to the second and everything. And so, there we've seen customers that have the success stories of like major telco saying, hey, call reduction time is down 18%. So we do see things like that. We also see, like, it depends if there's a creative function. So like booking.com, another Glean customer, they say, hey, you know what, we had this process to produce these promo videos. There was a huge backlog. It was taking us 8 weeks. They applied various agents to all kinds of the rote parts of the process. There was no AI video gen in this. It was about producing the promo videos, but there was all this process stuff. They cut that from 8 weeks to 2 weeks. And what did they do? They got through their backlog of all of the things that were piling up. So this wasn't like, oh yeah, we don't need this person that was pushing like this form from here to here. This was like, oh, now we can actually get more videos out. I think I forget the number exactly.
So you're basically talking about really case specific business cases almost, right?
Yeah, and I'll give one more if I may.
Focus it.
If I may, just one more. Like,
yeah,
when we talk about the whole thing we're talking about people and AI, like, I love Pure Storage as a customer. So one of their biggest problems was employee satisfaction. This is their pulse score on, like, I have the tools needed to do my job. That went up 39 points. And so this is another way you can measure AI in this age. I think there's also, we're talking about, hey, are we getting rid of people? But there's also a ton of competition for people. I think people are great people. They're leaving. They're being recruited. They're going to work somewhere better. And thinking about just employee satisfaction is a major ROI as well too.
That's fair. That's fair. Cost of training and onboarding a new person is expensive. We know that. And so Lexi, what are your thoughts on what's that short term promise on the ROI side? It sounds like a few people like Bryce have been able to basically do so well so quickly with their deployments. It's just so obvious people are being more productive, at organizations like Moderna. But I would say that's more rare, right? That's my experience of it.
Yeah, I think there's 4 short-term ways to measure a return on the dollar that you invest in AI tooling. And I would, though, start by saying it is garbage in, garbage out. So people are demanding a lot on the return on investment of their AI capabilities. But I will ask them, okay, before you implement Glean or any sort of AI tool, what is the productivity of your people with respect to what you believe that tool will provide today before the tool? And often people don't have an answer to that. So I pause it to say, you add a tool to your tech stack because you think it is going to do something. And if you don't know how that thing is being transacted today, then a new tool isn't going to help you solve that. But the answer specifically to how we help companies calculate ROI, because we're tool agnostic and we show this across all tools, is 1, productivity. So we'll show, here are the actual users, and work with people to say, what do you think usage ties to in terms of time saved, and convert that to economic value. So 200 employees using the tool chain that I agree with Tony needs to be functionally specific, 2 hours a week translates into an hourly rate.
Yep.
And that's an economic gain. If you wanted to, like, take it very literally, Greg, we could take, there's pros and cons of each approach, but that's a productivity.
And is that productivity gain, Lexi, self-reported? I mean, I think that is absolutely one way to do it. It makes sense to me. It's what we also work with clients to do. Is that like self-reported? I saved a couple hours a week. Is that enough? I think it feels like it's enough to me. You believe your employees if they report that.
So the only thing that's wrong with that is when people don't do, like, there's cherry picking. So people will say, I got 40 productivity gains. Team A, was doing 10 coding tasks and they got 14 coding tasks. But teams B, C, and D saw no gains or even negative impacts. And you could have just cherry picked your best adopters
Mhm.
that we're gonna be coding faster anyway. So you
Mhm.
really have to avoid uh, making big jumps without setting up these experiments well, so that you do have a control group that was actually going through the workflow without AI. That is a mixed selection of CX reps or sales reps or coders or what have you. And this is what Lanai enables people to do, to say, we added the tool chain to this population, but we held out this as a control group. Make sure that there's no bias in the data. And then you have a actual real number of what your quote unquote productivity gain is, which can be useful in headcount planning and all sorts of things. There's three other things you can do, Greg, but I don't want to overtake.
No, I'm gonna give you 1 minute to do it. Give us the three other. Don't just give us the names, and then what are the three other things? We'll put them in chat.
Yeah, it's adoption economics
Yeah.
is value stream 2, and then it's rationalization. So it's cost rationalization. Too many use cases, lots of use cases on too many tools. You only need one for different use cases.
Yep.
And then risk reduction, which is the sort of hidden killer, and sort of hardest to quantify if you didn't have a good security team to begin with.
Right. Okay. Tony, I think I know how you might answer this, but maybe not. Bryce's point of view, people like some, including Bryce, obviously, their point of view is everybody gets it right away and then do a good job, or try to do a good job of the change management. But assign the enterprise-wide license for whatever tool or tools you think are the right tools, versus no, let's pick the language intensive functions. Customer support could be one, obviously marketing, software engineering, and pilot and or deploy there first, get those wins, build the muscle, get the ROIs so the CFO gets off our back. What's your point of view? One or the other, or do both work?
I mean, I totally agree with Lexi here. In a way, like on the telco stat I mentioned before, this was an A/B test with two different call centers, one with Glean, one without it, and that's how they measured that. Now, I think when like it's function specific, so I think for engineering, it might be harder to do that when we say, hey, this group of engineers can use an AI coding tool, and this group of engineers cannot. I think you'd be hamstringing people there. And with that, it's what tools are people demanding? What do they want to use? And there's all kinds of ways you can measure that as well too, in terms of looking at commits and other things like that in that way. But I would say getting base literacy out there, it has to be done. There are more specific cases where you want to do the A/B test experimentation with it.
All right, I know Maxwell's back, which means we're running out of time. I can take a hint, but I want to give you each a moment to answer just one piece of advice for someone who's an AI leader. It's not necessarily in their job title, but they're the person in the organization that's volunteered, raised their hand to try to lead some of this change and this adoption and use of AI. What's your one piece of advice for them? We'll start with Tony and we'll end with Lexi.
Yeah, one piece of advice I think is right now I still think it's the time where you have to make available as many tools and things as possible, and not hamper people's ability to use this. I think that there's a fundamental desire to be able to apply these things at work by most employees, and so just making sure you're not in the way, I think, is the
unleash the potential. Yeah. Lexi, you get to end us with this session with advice for AI leaders.
Yeah, it's really basic. You can't manage what you can't see, and you really can't empower what you don't understand. Treat AI functionality like a new teammate, and make sure you see what those new teammates working with your existing teammates are doing. And when you start with visibility, then you can move to measurement.
All right. Awesome. Thank you both. I'm sorry we had to split in terms of 2 guests, 1.5 hour. Next time we'll invite you back and have a little more time. But I appreciate you both sharing the stage because you're seeing this stuff up front and close at the enterprise level. Thank you both for joining us.